Hey guys, we are back for another Disney episode. If you are new to the channel, we've been going over different Disney lawsuits during this week and next week because most of the courts are shut down, so there's not a lot of new content going on. So we just thought it'd be fun to review some, and hopefully you guys haven't heard of this one, so it'll be interesting. So the Marvel movies obviously are huge. My family all is obsessed with all the movies. But back in 2021, coming off of COVID and the pandemic, some movies were going into theater just starting off. Some were only streaming online because so many people still weren't going out and being in groups together. And this is the same for the Black Widow. So we know that Scarlett Johansson is the main person in it. And whether you're watching this live or not, I'm going to give you about 10 seconds. Who was originally supposed to be the Black Widow? If you know, write the actress in. I'm going to say it in a minute. It was not supposed to be Scarlett. The other girl didn't even have to audition. They called her and said, "This is your part. We want you." But because she had something called an options, she had previously done work with a company when she was just starting off her career, and they put it in their contract that if they want you to do any of their other movies in the next 5-10 years, whichever one they choose, you have to do it. And that is what happened with her, and she couldn't get out of it. Dates couldn't be flexible, so she had to miss out on the role, which was then given to Scarlett. All right, I'm going to put it up. Hopefully, if you are watching this later, you've made a guess. But it is Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt was supposed to be Black Widow. And it is one of the only roles that she says that, she's so devastated not to be a part of. She was excited about the offer. It's obviously a big universe and so many more roles for her within that. And it just couldn't happen for her. So, we go to Black Widow, which is the spin-off. We know all the Avengers, and then the different Avengers get their own spin-off movies, Iron Man and Thor, Captain America. But Scarlett did all of the recording for this movie mostly during the pandemic. And there was a little bit of a conflict of when it would be released, if they should push it back later, now that theaters were just starting to open up. And Disney had decided that they would go ahead and put it out at theaters. And they ended up releasing it July 9th, 2021. And it did really well considering that it was one of the newer movies going into theaters with all of this. It actually grossed $80 million that first weekend, which was the highest box opening that happened at the time. So it did really well considering. But for Scarlett, there was a huge issue, and that is in her signed contract with Disney, it only stipulated that this movie was going into theater and that usually the main actors get to make some money off of how much the movie makes. So almost like betting on yourself. Instead of taking a bigger lump sum in your salary, you are hoping that it does well and you will make a good amount of money from that. It was very typical. Most actors that are well known have that as a clause, so no issues. However, Disney, without telling her and not in the contract, went ahead and released Black Widow on Disney Plus the same day, which absolutely killed so much money that Scarlett could have made. I'm going to give you some numbers here just so you can understand. Basically, within that first week to next couple weeks, theaters pulled in $80 million by themselves. Disney Plus pulled in $60 million. It's a huge number for her to miss out on. And that was, Disney was doing a rental with that. You could rent the movie for $30. So they killed it, and technically they didn't have to share any of that with Scarlett. However, it wasn't even supposed to be happening because that went against her agreement with them. So she did something that I think should have been done, but we're going to get into the bad things that could come from her actions. And that is, she decided to sue Disney, saying breach of contract. She missed out on millions that she would have made. Like I said, I think that's all very fair. And I think she should have done that. We're going to get in a little bit of the languages of the different things. Let me go ahead and read this, some of it to you anyway. At the time of the agreement was entered, it was well understood by the parties and Disney that a theatrical release referred to an executive release in theaters for an extended period of time that was roughly 90 to 120 days, with the exception of certain less valuable direct-to-video releases. It has long been custom and practice in the film industry for feature films to have at least a 90-day exclusive theater release. So, as you see, they are definitely not happy about it. They felt like Disney duped her in some ways. And, they usually, as they said, there's a time period until then these bigger companies can release it on their own platform. But Disney decided to double dip and hope to keep even more profits for themselves. And they did until she sued them. So she went ahead and sued them. We do not know the exact amount, but there's several sources that say it was just above $40 million that she received from Disney. And that was on top of her $20 million salary just to do the role. So she definitely made some of her money back, maybe even more, I'm not sure. But she definitely got what I think she should have had, because that all should have been in the contract if they were going to go a different avenue just to keep her out of it. Disney also at the time had released that they didn't do anything wrong and it's not their fault that she had expectations when she shouldn't have. Whatever they first said was so snarky and did not go well. When this was almost going to trial, Disney ended up settling and giving her that amount. However, because of that, Black Widow is not continuing on. And if you have noticed, I'm going to spoil this if you haven't seen the Marvels. If you haven't and you want to skip for like a minute and then come back to this. But in Marvel, we know that Black Widow died, so she's not necessarily going on in that realm. But the Black Widow series just had started. That was the first movie. But if you noticed, there's so much of a push of her sister in the movie, and her sister is going to be taking the main role and continuing on with the Black Widow name-esque. In the family, in that realm, she's going to be the one taking it. They are not having Scarlett continue to work for them. So not only is it a huge loss for her, and think of all the potential earnings and money she would have gotten by working with them, but it also means that this massive franchise that could have continued to develop her and her character. Who knows how many Black Widow movies there could have been. And it all got squashed because of this lawsuit. So I hope you guys did not know that. I actually remember this going on at the time. And I remember thinking how wrong it was of them to do what they were doing. I mean, I know she has millions of dollars. She's not hurting for money. But Disney's the same way. They're not hurting for money. And they weren't upright and fair to her at all. So I'm happy that she ended up getting the settlement. It didn't have to go through trial to have both of them being dragged down by each other. But it definitely hurts the Marvel community, who was excited to see where her character's storyline could go, and now it is no more. So you have to let me know what you think. Do you think that one day they will work again with each other, or even with the Marvel series? Or do you think that Disney has her blacklisted indefinitely? All right, it's been a good one, a quick one. I'm doing several other videos coming up tonight, so you will see me on here. But thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.